Hello everyone. In this video we will provide a detailed analysis on the scriptural passage, Matthew chapter 5 verse 12, which reads, "Be glad and rejoice, for your reward is very great in heaven. For so they persecuted the prophets that were before you." The phrase, "for so they persecuted the prophets that were before you," is significant here. It reminds us that the experience of persecution is not unique to the disciples of Jesus, but rather a common thread that runs through the history of God's people. The prophets of the Old Testament also faced opposition and rejection because of their message, and yet they remained faithful to God and continued to proclaim His word. Be glad and rejoice. In this verse, Jesus exhorts His disciples to rejoice and be glad, even in the midst of persecution and suffering. This may seem like a paradoxical and difficult command, but it is based on the promise of a great reward in heaven. The reward is not something that the disciples earn by their own efforts, but rather a gift of grace that is given to them because of their faithfulness to Christ. The promise of reward in heaven is not just a future hope, but also a present reality. The reward is not only in the future, but also in the present, because the joy of the Holy Spirit already gives us a foretaste of the joy that is to come. The experience of persecution is a way of participating in the sufferings of Christ, which will bring us closer to Him and will deepen our faith. The reward promised in heaven is not something that can be fully comprehended or measured by human standards. The reward in heaven is infinite, because it is the enjoyment of the infinite good, which is God Himself. We must emphasize the greatness and surpassing value of the reward that is promised to those who remain faithful to Christ, even in the face of persecution and suffering. Overall, this verse reminds us that the Christian life is not a path of ease and comfort, but rather a pilgrimage that includes suffering and persecution. However, we can take comfort in the promise of a great reward in heaven, which is given to us by God's grace and not our own merit. By remaining faithful to Christ and rejoicing in the midst of trials, we participate in His own sufferings and become more fully united with Him. Okay, that's all for today. If you want to learn more, check out our other videos. Thank you and God bless.